Hello, I'm Rico Cabello. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can use immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. So before I introduce today's episode and our expert guest, I have a question for you. If you've been wondering how well you are aging, well, we have the solution for you. You can go to my main website, agelesslivinglifestyle.com, take our aging assessment, and if you don't like the results, you can book a call with me, and we'll discuss what challenges you're having, and I'll do my best to get you going on the right track. So the title of today's episode is one that it sounds like one that I wrote for myself. I just love it. It's called The Ageless Journey: How Extreme Adventures and Wellness Keep Me Young. And our guest, her name is Liz Galloway. She is a seasoned PR and media professional with over 2 decades of experience in digital marketing, brand development, videography, and content creation. As a new publisher and editor of Ballard City Lifestyle, this is dedicated to highlighting the vibrant lifestyle, culture, and wellness trends of the Ballard neighborhood in Seattle. Her passion for wellness is at the core of everything she does, from leading transformational retreats to crafting engaging brand stories in the wellness, travel, hospitality, and lifestyle sectors. So, Liz Galloway, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to chat about all things staying young and exploring the world and venturing.
Yeah, that's what I'm all about too. So that's so much fun. Well, let's just start with that. I'm just curious. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Uh, what got you interested in wellness, and also being. How'd you get to be an adventurist?
Wow, it's probably a couple decades journey. I mean, I think it's always kind of been in there as a tomboy, as a kid, and my brothers using me as their crash test dummy against all things outdoors and adventure.
Yeah.
It just kind of stuck with me. I always wanted to, explore new things, and um, I guess it took a little bit of a different turn when I got into the wellness industry, and then ended up working internationally in various different luxury locations, luxury hotel portfolios, wellness spas, leading them, teaching them, speaking at trade shows and all of that, and kind of really diving into the wellness end of it, everything from the spa side all the way up to all the new things that are coming out now. So it's always been a part of my life that I want to personally look after just for my own health. And as I get older, it's really nice to continue to keep those habits going because there's something that I can always go back to. And honestly, there's something that really keep me feeling younger as I'm getting older. I'm actually feeling like I'm probably the healthiest and strongest I've been, even when I was in my 20s. So
Yeah.
I trained as a massage therapist, an esthetician, a yoga teacher, a fitness instructor. So I have that background, but I also trained in business, marketing, PR. And so it kind of became this thing where I was brought to different locations, like in Costa Rica and Spain, and these places where I would train people, and then it would just kind of express naturally from there. I would help people start their locations and their spas there. A lot of expats, a lot of training in different locations, and it just kept growing from there. And then, of course, when the adventure outdoors, I want to get physical. When you are looking for the next level thing, if you've already done a certain thing, you're kind of looking for that next level. So that's where I started looking into doing my jungle guide survival training, learning how to fly a helicopter, planning on hiking Kilimanjaro next. These things are really just something out of curiosity and kind of pairing that wellness and that adventure lifestyle together. So I've I've kind of created a very non-traditional, non-linear life and career, I guess, around it and blending them together.
Wow, that's such a great story, and that's what this show's all about. That's what my ageless living lifestyle is all about. It's just living your life to the fullest and being adventurous, and like just what you said, all those things is really the real key to never becoming old and being vibrant and vital all of your life, no matter what your age is. I'm sure you've heard the famous saying, "Adventures are to the adventurous." I think it was Disraeli said that. Have you heard that? So
Some version of it, yeah.
Yeah, and then I have a new description too because I'm producing a new I call them adventure wellness vacations. I don't the word retreat. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But and so I came up with a definition of adventure. Adventure is something you step into without exactly knowing the outcome, but you know that it will change you.
Yes.
You like that?
Yes, I love that. There's some saying, and I don't remember uh, who I heard it from, but somebody famous somewhere.
Yeah,
And it was kind of, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of going back to exactly what you're saying. Absolutely. I've kept that quote in my head for decades.
I think that came from physical therapy. I've seen a lot of physical therapists that have that in their thing. If it doesn't challenge you, because they like to make you hurt, right? It's physical therapy, so it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. That's right. Well, let me ask you. Well, first of all, were you into athletics when you were young in school?
I mean, nothing major. I kind of was a dabbler, I guess. I mean, again, that curiosity. So I tried out gymnastics, did that for a little while. I did some track, those types of things, but it was nothing that I ever wanted to really pursue really long term. It was just something I love, kind of having this skill stacking where I can just learn new things and keep stacking the next one and next one on top of each other. Sometimes you're a jack of all trades and master of none, but the back end of that phrase is oftentimes it's better than one. So,
I like that. Yeah, I feel the same way. Well, again, that's another key ingredient of staying young and not being old. It's like you say, just keep learning, keep trying new things and learning new things. That's really the key. So many people just stagnate in their life and just become old way too young, So that's another really key for you. If you want to not become old and end up like so many people in America, it's a really sad situation, isn't it? How the majority of Americans are already old and they're maybe 50s, 60s, and they're dying in your 70s, and they don't. It's because they're not living adventures, and they're not realizing how important it is to be well and to take care of your physical body so you can do all these exciting things. I think that isn't the
yes.
purpose for being here on this planet just to explore and learn and enjoy and get excited about what's all the possibilities.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think if it's something that you've done for many years throughout your life and it's become a habit, couple things. I mean, one, when you stop doing it, your body is going to kind of rebel a little bit. You're going to notice a difference, a big
Hmm.
difference. At least I do. And I have, every time if I'm not doing my regular workouts or diet, um, and I'm not talking diet by starving, I'm talking just healthy, kind of clean eating
Yeah,
majority of the time.
yeah.
It's You definitely feel a difference. My moods are different. I'm more tired. So there is a big difference when you're doing your workouts and you're following through on these things that, yeah, they really are keeping you physically fit. And especially something I've dove into in the last couple of years is more calisthenics. So that's making a big resurgence. Remember that from back in the 80s where this was like a big thing? And now it's making a big resurgence and it's actually helped heal my back. It's done lots of different things where it's really those little micro muscles and those fibers, kind of like your hip flexors and all these areas where you can just make such a big change just by doing calisthenics.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because that's what I teach mostly now. I still do some personal training, and so I teach mostly what I call functional fitness. And it's primarily just using your own body weight for resistance,
Yeah.
and also for strength. Yeah, so just that's all you really need, and not only that, it helps you to a lot better to function in your daily life. I mean, who needs to bench press 300 pounds or those kind of things? When you're young, you want to impress somebody or something, but that's really stupid. So as we age, we want to do things that are going to keep us strong and mobile and flexible and help us to, like say, help us to excel at our adventures, right? That's the whole purpose of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that, the calisthenics, I think I found, especially, and I'm sure you know this very, very well, is the more flexibility you have, the
Hmm.
longer your muscles are, the less injuries that you have. And again, and that it keeps that youth factor and it does allow you to not have as many of those issues where you may be relying on a lot of medications or prescriptions. And that's not certainly how I want to look at my life.
Not at
And
all.
so
Yeah.
yeah, if I get to that point, I guess I'm going to have to ask myself some serious questions about what changes I want to make.
Okay, well, just call me up and I'll make sure you don't do it. Okay.
Don't let me go there. No.
I won't let you. Okay. Yeah, a true measure of your age is really, uh, first of all, how good is your posture? How flexible, how well can you move? I just hate to see these not even they're not even old. They're younger than me. They're walking around like this. You can
Yeah,
barely move. And that's just something you allow to happen to your body. So, a true
right.
measure of your age is how well you can move and how good is your posture. And then, of course, it's all about the mindset too. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But uh, I like how you say, too. You said fearless aging through mind, body, adventure. That's what we're talking about. So first of all, you got to keep your body really strong, right?
Yeah.
And then let's talk a little bit about. I know you mentioned something too about the neuroscience of aging. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I'm not a neuroscience scientist, but it's
Yeah.
something I've always been fascinated by. And,
Hmm.
obviously we know now more and more as things are proven that our mind and our bodies are very closely related.
Hmm.
And your mindset is going to have an effect on how your body feels, vice versa. And
Totally.
all these chemicals that are working around this. And, just like neuroplasticity, you can rebuild new synapses and connections in your brain, and you can do the same thing with your body. But you really have to pay attention to both. And, you know, I think with just everything we've seen in science lately, it's just such a good thing to be able to go and look at those things, rely on them, and share that information and learn. I'm always curious about what's next. What can I learn? It's not that I don't ever want to age, it's just that I want to age healthy, you know? So with neuroscience, for me, it's just something of being really hyper aware of how the mind and body is connected and how that affects everything. And that's something that we talk about in retreats that I've done in the past as well, and kind of bringing in that, I guess, therapy side of it, a little bit of science, a little bit of therapy, a little bit of, all of that working it together. Because I think you do have to pay attention to what you're thinking, how you're talking, what you're doing, how you're producing, all of these things that are connected. And if your mind's not working real well, your body's probably going to follow behind.
Yeah, absolutely true. We now know, for certain, what manifests in our physical body. But we're talking about all these chronic illnesses that people have. It begins in our mental emotional state. Everything begins in our mental emotional state, and then it can manifest in our physical body. So it's such important, as you were saying, so important to have the mindset. First of all, just I always like to teach people the very first number one thing to do as far as ageless living is you have to change your mindset and believe that you can stay healthy and energetic all your life. And if you buy into the mainstream narrative that that's just the way it is, we're all going to get old and sick and maybe end up in a nursing home. If you buy into that, that's what you're going to create, right? Because as you know, our beliefs and our thoughts and our words and our feelings, that's what creates our reality and what creates our lifestyle. So that's such an important thing to get a handle on. To say you're in control of your life, so it is mind over matter. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a big part of it. And I don't want to, simplify it where, if someone is in a situation where, say they've had an injury and it's really put them in a setback that, oh, just try harder, it's that focus. But it's amazing how resilient and adaptable our bodies and our minds are.
Yeah.
And if you just keep doing it and moving forward, even if it's bit by bit, just like any habit, you're going to see the changes. You're going to
Yeah.
make that difference. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
That's absolutely right. Well, I have a short 60-second message here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more about all this, and also to talk some about your retreats as well. That's going to be really interesting. So we'll be right.
Now, in just 17 minutes, you can get and stay fit and look and feel your best for life. This will be a life-changing and life-saving experience for you. Yes, it's true. Scientific studies have shown the Fast Fit 17 system is the fastest way to achieve maximum results in the shortest amount of time. This is a true fitness breakthrough. This system was developed particularly for busy people over 40 who know they need and want to get into better shape and have more energy, but feel they don't have the time. Now, time is no longer an issue. We want everyone to take advantage of this fitness breakthrough. So, for a limited time, you can get the entire program for only $17. So don't miss out. Order now at fastfit17.com.
Okay, we are back with our guest, Liz Galloway, who is an amazing uh, mind, body, and wellness adventurous, and has so much information about how she stays healthy and well and energized and excited about her life. So, well, we talked a little bit about the mental aspect of it, and also just taking care of your physical body, how important that is, and then. But I think I think so many people do miss is really living an adventurous life. So why do you think so many people are not really excited about their life or doing exciting things and living life to the fullest and being adventurous? Why do you think that is?
That's the big question of life.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that's I think it's really innate for every person, but I think most of it is just believing that you can't. And it's a lot easier to make excuses to stay
yeah,
comfortable and
yeah,
in your zone doing the same thing than it is to step outside of it. And it takes a lot to be in different environments, whether it's in the middle of the jungle, sleeping in a hammock with, big spiders dropping onto your chest, or being at sea for several weeks at a time and, running into storms and racing against other yachts. It can be, I mean, people can look at that and maybe say, some people just don't desire to do that at all. Maybe there's a different adventure type that is for them, like a hike in their local area or their local peak. So it's different for everybody, but I think it's mainly because changing and adapting and getting out of your zone, it can be difficult and it takes a lot of change. And because I've done so many of them over the years and have also relocated many times, both for work and just sabbaticals of my own to multiple different countries, I became very easily adaptable to things and very comfortable being uncomfortable in various different situations. So I think it's different for everybody why they're not going to do that. And I think we also have to, everybody thinks like, oh, well, I'll do it when I'm older. I'll have time.
yeah,
Well, kind of really, it's the reverse. I mean,
yeah,
think
yeah,
about it, like middle age these days, if we're dying around 70 something for a lot of people, middle age is in your 30s.
yeah,
So there's a
yeah.
lot. Like, I must be like a, what do they call them? The centurion or what?
A centenarian, yeah, yeah, centenarian,
At
yeah,
this point, if 35 is middle age, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's different for everybody. But the more you do it, the more you realize that you can do it, that you can trust
yeah,
yourself, that you
yeah,
can push back past the next boundary. And as we were talking earlier in our conversation, I mean, one of the things is the more I do it, the more comfortable I get. And I said, oh, okay, well, what's the next one? How far can I go on the next one? And so now I'm just searching for like what the next challenges are. I mean, I want to do them all. How I'm going to fit them all
yeah,
into one life, we'll see. But
yeah, yeah.
that's the next question.
Yeah, well, it really doesn't matter. You just keep doing whatever you can do. That's all that matters. But yeah, I really think it's we all have these fears. We fear certain things, but what I've learned and what we all need to learn is whatever you fear, that's something that you need to address. And but if you don't, it just follows you around, right? But when you step into your fears, they diminish and they go away. And you go, wait, hey, I can do this. I can
Yeah.
overcome this, and then that gives you the boost to do something else, right? And that's what's being fully alive, right? Is facing your fears and challenges, and then when you actually do that, like you've been doing, it just takes your life to another level and keeps making your life more and more interesting and exciting, right?
It does, yeah, and it keeps me curious. It keeps my mind moving and keeps me wanting to do the next thing. I mean, a lot of people that have known me for a long time. At this point, they're like, "Oh, you're doing what? Oh, whatever." They're just like, "Yeah, we've heard this all before, right? Oh, you're gonna go do a 250-mile desert rally race, and okay, cool. You're gonna so whatever. At this point, they're used to it, but again, for me, it's kind of pushing that next boundary, and it is mental too.
Yeah.
because you
Oh,
have to push
definitely
past
mental.
those things. And but again, that level of what that adventure means to people is going to be different for each person. And a lot of people that I know think I'm, out of my mind. And a lot of people I know also just, they don't want to do the same things I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of friends that go out and adventure with me in that sense. So a lot of times I'm doing solo or meeting up with other groups that are doing them as well.
Well, I think too. I mean, you don't have to do real super extreme things, to have some
Right.
adventures. Just, but just we just encourage you to think of something that would be kind of exciting or something you'd like to experience. It doesn't have to be anything too extreme at first, and then maybe you just say, well, maybe I could do something else. Like you said, you do something and then, oh, I could do that. I could maybe do something else. And again, that's what's going to keep you young, right? That's what's going to keep you inspired to take care of your body and your mind and to experience all that you can do. So that's such a great message. I just really love that. I have a question for you. So do you have children?
I do. I have one. Yeah.
But they're grown up, and so you don't have to worry about taking care of your.
No, no, yeah, he's grown up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the good thing about that too is, he did a lot of traveling with me as well and
Oh, that's
saw,
cool.
these different adventures, and we did lots of adventures together too. And now he's out doing that on his own. So
Oh, cool.
there's some kind of trade where like it kind of sticks with you. And if at a younger age when he was living overseas and doing all these different things, and he was able to have a different mindset than someone who maybe had not done that. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it allows, I think, a different framework to grow. And hopefully, he's out teaching other people to do the same too. He does a lot of volunteering at schools around places they travel and things like that. But so yeah, but I don't have to necessarily, like, a lot of people still have young kids at home, right? So there's that
Yeah,
factor they have to think about how that works for them when they go away for, like I can, several weeks at a time or a couple weeks at a time on these different adventures that are pretty remote sometimes.
yeah, that's so good. Well, we'll talk about your retreats. How did you begin to offer retreats and tell us about the new one is coming up in Kilimanjaro in Africa.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, I guess I took a break from it for a while, and pretty much right around when COVID hit. And I've had people asking me, when I'm going to do them again and to come back and start hosting some retreats, because what we do is we look at it as kind of a combination of a trifecta of the mind, body, and the soul, but in a slightly different way. So we want you to be moving your body. We want you to be pushing your boundaries with some type of new adventure you haven't done before. Obviously, things like the movement, calisthenics, yoga, healthy eating, those things are always integrated. But also, we bring people who can do like resiliency masterminds on site, or therapists who are psychologists, and all these different people who can kind of round out different things where you have one-on-one and group sessions. So that's taking it a little bit differently, where we can dive in a little bit deeper in the mindset, rather than just like a normal meditation, those types of things. But we try to keep it very, very rounded, where people can come out transformed and really thinking differently, but also have those tools here and here where they can take it with them, and they're not going to just go back into the real world and never utilize those again, or never know how to do that again, or recapture that feeling. We want them to be able to take those tools back and keep that feeling going, or continue to pursue those things on their own. So that's part of it. So I've done retreats in Bali and different locations, Mexico, and like you mentioned, the next one later this year, at the end of the year, is going to be a Kilimanjaro climb paired with a luxury safari after, and a stopover at a homestay with one of the local female tribes. And so all of these businesses that we have decided to partner with are all women owned. And so
That's
from the
very cool.
safari people and all of that to, yeah, so it's exciting that way. And one of the things with my background for decades in wellness and tourism and travel and mental health, I've really noticed that it's worked for me, and it's worked for other people that I have come on my retreats and then also done their own thing. But I also started a nonprofit out of that, where we called the Well Mind Project. where we also can do scholarships for people who maybe wouldn't otherwise be able to attend certain retreats, so they can apply to go to retreats like this,
That's
right?
so
To
good.
join these types of things. So
Liz, I'm sorry, we're just about out of time. So I want to thank you so much for being here and offering some great information that can really help people to live a much healthier, energetic, and adventurous long life. I really appreciate what you're doing, and it was such a pleasure having you on. So if you enjoyed today's show, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show. And I like to always end my shows with Einstein's big saying, knowledge without action is useless. So we always give you some good information and wisdom, but you got to take action. So step up and take action and go out and live a more healthy, adventurous life.